Wait no longer, greatness has arrived. Welcome to the Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast made by the players for the players. I'm your host, Joseph, aka Mr. Badbit, and it is here where me and my best friend Kyle talk about the latest, the greatest in all things PlayStation. Of course, you can listen to this show wherever you find your podcasts and on YouTube at the Trophy Room Show. And if you like what you hear, please consider dropping us a 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts. Or if you really like us, you can help support the show on patreon.com/PS Trophy Room. So with all that said, with all that out of the way, the greatest co-host whoever is and whoever will be, Mr. Kyle Stevenson, how are you, sir?
Doing pretty good.
Yeah?
Pretty well.
Yeah?
I played a lot of games. Getting my fingers stretched out for Returnal, which we'll learn a whole lot more about this episode. I'm very excited.
I'm very excited too, because I've been also playing just a ton of games, but like on PlayStation Now, just waiting. That's what I'm doing. Like I'm testing out games. I'm not really diving deep into them because I'm waiting for Returnal. You know, I'm excited. Everything I'm hearing is great, and we're about to hear more because Steve from Squad State is here. He got his hands on Returnal. I'm very excited. Steve, how are you, man?
I'm great. Thank you both so much for inviting me here. I'm excited to talk about Returnal. Yeah, it's just a pleasure to be on the podcast with you guys.
Absolutely. And Steve, I heard of you from our good friend Ryan Turford over at the Xbox Drive, which I don't know if y'all haven't listened, but go ahead and listen to that podcast. They're great over there. And he's a great guy. And when I was trying to find people with Returnal codes to talk to y'all, because I'm really excited for this game, Ryan was just like, Steve's your man. Steve is the guy. Go reach out. And here we are. So thank you, Ryan, for the shout out.
Thank you, Ryan. Shout out Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, he's all right. Let's not talk about too much.
He's not on the show, so he can't be that great, right?
Exactly. That's how I always feel about it. But, Steve, who are you? Where do you come from? What do you do?
Yeah, I'm located in Toronto, Canada. Freelance writer for, as you said, Squad State. I'm also a podcast host on their podcast every Monday on Twitch. And yeah, I'm also writing for a couple of other outlets like iPhone in Canada, Console Creatures. I'm kind of a hired mercenary, if you will, in the in the Canadian video game industry anyway. Awesome. So yeah, again, super stoked to be here.
Yeah, and I don't want to boost your ego or anything, but from what I'm aware of, you're on a special Canadian panel of some sort. It was announced today on Twitter. You and several other people.
So that was for the judging panel for the Canadian Game Awards, which happened. Time is irrelevant at this point, anyways. But I think 2 weeks ago at this point, so it already come and passed. But yeah, they just created this thing for Twitter just to kind of showcase all the judges who were on the committee and help put together the award show and finalize the winners.
That's awesome. Yeah. Man. And
how intense is something like that, Steve? Voting for a game award show.
It's a little stressful. I mean, you obviously have to put in your best effort and be unbiased as possible and everything. But I think specifically for the Canadian Game Awards, it is just a great opportunity to highlight Canadian studios, because whenever you talk about big game awards, like Jeff Keighley's, for instance, you're not looking at where are these studios from. You're just looking at what they're putting out, right? So being able to just segment the Canadian studios and the Canadian personalities as well is just a great opportunity. But yeah, it can be a little stressful, but it's a great opportunity for me to have been a part of.
Are there any Canadian studios that you feel don't get enough love?
All the indie ones.
All the indie ones,
all of them,
sure. For sure.
Because they're already on an uphill battle, right? Because when you think Canada and video game studios, you're thinking BioWare, Ubisoft.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think of MDHR.
Yes. Cuphead. I want more Cuphead content.
God, please, more Cuphead.
Where's Delicious Last Course? Come on.
Take your time, but at the same exact time, sharpen those pencils, y'all. Get to work. That's so awesome. I can't imagine how stressful that it must be, but also rooting for that game. If it was me, it'd be like, come on, Ghost of Tsushima, come on, you got this. you were the best game of last year, right, Kyle? Like, there's, you get that thing that you kind of root for. It's really awesome, really interesting. That said, gang, we got a lot to talk about today, and I mean a lot. For example, Steve, we're going to talk to Steve about Returnal, his thoughts on the matter, how good the game is, it worth that $70. We're going to be talking about Sony investing in additional PlayStation exclusives over the next year. We're going to talk about Last of Us Part 3. It's been outlined, but maybe it's not being made yet. Maybe it is. Who knows? Ratchet & Clank and PlayStation absolutely dominates the DICE Awards. But before we can get into all of that, I want to thank our patrons over at patreon.com/PS Trophy Room. I want to thank our platinum producers, Todd Burowitz and Too Soon. I want to thank our gold members, Chaotic Monkey, Gavin Goffrey, Griffin West, Jose Jimenez, Jedi Master Ren, and Metal Kirby. I want to thank our Silver Plus members, Hide Indoors, Marcus O'Neill, oh, it's just Ray, JB the Purple Monkey, Jadus Von Metal, Tim Ulf, and Justin Rodriguez. Thank you all so much for making this show happen. All the things that happen behind the scenes, everything that you see in front of the screens, it's all because of your generosity over at patreon.com/PS Trophy Room. And we could not do any of this without your support. So if we ever got you through a long car ride, a long day at work, wherever the case may be, it really does help us out. You toss us a buck our way over at patreon.com/PS Trophy Room. Now, we usually start the show, Steve, with time to square up the news, right? But I want to say that I think what's more important is what you've been playing. So, Steve, what you been playing?
A little game called Returnal from Housemarque. Perhaps you've heard of it.
I mean,
just a little bit.
Just a tad. Just a scotch. So last week, like, the internet kind of all of a sudden erupted with Returnal talk because everybody but us got review codes of this game and started kind of talking about their early impressions of. Yep. So with that said, Kyle, let's start with the first question about Returnal, which is a story. Sure. Take it away, Kyle.
This was written in the Discord from TPR, and TPR writes, "Yo, Kyle, Joe, and Steve. So it's obvious by this point that Returnal definitely has a narrative that harps on Celine's past before landing on this weird planet, and also Celine as a person. It got me thinking, what is your guys' preferred balance of implicit versus explicit storytelling? I'd say the complete implicit side of the spectrum is Bloodborne, where we have a few cutscenes, while other than that, it's the environment and item descriptions that lead the way, whereas the complete explicit side, it's an Uncharted 4. The story unfolds before us and we observe. I personally would like to see some unavoidable explicit storytelling bits in Returnal, with the implicit ones scattered about in the midst of a run between the action. The first roguelite that caught my attention was Hades, and I stuck with it because of the continuing narrative. What are your guys' expectations for the storytelling in Returnal? Or in Steve's case, what is the storytelling like in Returnal?"
Sure.
And of course, before I'm sorry.
No, please. Yeah.
Totally spoiler free, of course. Just, surface level. That type of stuff. Go for it. Take it away.
Well, no, I was going to say, why don't you gentlemen go first? Because, if I start going into it, it kind of, sets your expectations accordingly.
For me, I would love a little bit of mix of both. Like, one of my favorite games of the past couple of years is Control. And while you do get a lot of storytelling stuff through cutscenes and narrative and spoken dialogue, there is a lot of lore in there on all the documents, the hundreds of documents you can pick up and let you learn a little bit more about this world. So I love a little bit of both, but my one big worry about Returnal and Housemarque is how are they going to weave into a story in a way that they haven't done before. So I'm a little worried about it. I've heard that it's a lot of you interpreting what the story is throughout, which I don't think will hurt my enjoyment from it because I love playing Housemarque games. I'm just a little worried on the story side of things.
Yeah. And I kind of like, for me, as long as the story is, or maybe even the world is interesting, I do like, that kind of narrative like of Bloodborne where it's told through the items, it's told through the environment, it's told, here, there with some cutscenes, but it's kind of obscured of what it is, and kind of up to your interpretation as well in certain points. So for me, it doesn't matter how the story's told. It just has to be interesting the way it hooks me. So, without going too heavy, what is the Returnal story like? Is it more like the Control, or is it more like a Bloodborne?
It's leaning more towards Bloodborne, I feel, which in my opinion was good. I do like that, just like you. I love going through the lore, the items, and just piecing things together, and that's exactly what Returnal is getting those like little droplets of stories, just parsing through each level. And part of the way they do that is you come across like audio diaries, your standard fare in basically like any game, but they're not told chronologically, if you will. Like you actually have to like piece things together that maybe you got a little bit hour 1, and then you got to piece it together with something you discovered in hour 10, and then it all starts to make sense. You're like, oh, okay, I can put those two things together, and now I have like a bigger piece of this puzzle.
So it's kind of like Memento in that kind of aspect.
Yeah, I like that comparison. It's not 1-to-1, but kind of.
That's awesome. Right. And do you feel like the story is compelling enough that'll make you go like, oh, let me this audio book or whatever, this thing I found in hour 2, am I interested still by hour 6 of what that thing is, parsing the pieces together?
It's all subjective. I mean, I think what Housemarque did really well here is put together a fantastic deep sci-fi story with sci-fi backdrop as well. So if you're invested in that genre, like if you're invested in Alien, the franchise, I think you're gonna get that carrot at the end of the stick and be like, okay, I'm gonna follow this all the way through.
Nice.
Ooh, yeah. You sold me at Aliens. I'm already into this. Kyle, is there any other questions about the story you'd like to talk about?
I'm just trying to think. How does the... Because we've seen from trailers, you're running through, and you might be picking up audio logs here and there. But it seems at some point in the story, you're going to go first person. And like, without spoiling anything, does that switch from third person to first person? Is that jarring? Is it more intriguing of seeing like how they're telling the story in a first person perspective all of a sudden?
The decision itself is kind of strange.
Sure.
Only because I think it's meant to. It's meant to be kind of unsettling. So again, it's not a spoiler or anything. It's all stuff we've seen in the trailer. You come across these houses inexplicably on this alien planet, and it all kind of ties back to Celine, who's the protagonist, her past before she landed on this planet. And as you walk through the door, the perspective changes to first person, and it becomes like this PT-esque environment. Like it's unavoidable. You're walking down a hallway in a house. Yeah. First thing you think of PT.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And it becomes kind of unnerving because you're so used to having that third person perspective. I think it works. I think you do get little pieces of that story through those segments. But it is jarring at the same time. Not in a bad way. I'm not. Sure. I'm not complaining about it. But it throws you off.
Okay. That's the great catch there, Kyle. Because that is something that you see it in the trailers and you just kind of like, oh yeah, that's a thing that exists.
Well, it was so funny. The first time we saw it in the trailer, I was like, this has to be like a troll. They have to just be catering to the PT lovers of the world, and they're like, this isn't going to make it into the game. This is just like a nod or something. No, it's there.
It's awesome.
Yeah. For a brief second, I thought it was like a VR mode. I'm like, oh my god.
Oh sure.
That would be absolutely nuts. Now, I want to talk about the sounds and the haptics of Returnal, because we've been hearing a lot about that. If y'all follow Blessing Aliote Jr., he put out a tweet talking about just the rain and how it hits the controller, how you hear it from the controller. Hida writes in, and I'm sorry if I butchered your name, let me know. Tweet at us. I'll get it right. You know me, dumb brains and pronunciations. I can't do it. My brain's too dumb. I can't do it. They write in, how does the sound design in this game and soundtrack and sound effects, how are they? So, could you speak a little bit to that? How does the environment sound to you, going through this mysterious and like haunting planet?
So if you're just playing it on your television without a headset, it's coming through your speakers. I don't think it's anything to write home about. I'll be totally honest. Even the soundtrack, when I was beginning to write my finalized review and all that, there was nothing that completely stood out to me. That being said, though, if you have the Pulse 3D headphones with the 3D audio, game changer. Like, that's a next level piece of immersion that don't think I commonly see in video games. Like, putting those on, you can then pinpoint where the enemy is in like a 360-degree angle. You can hear, like, you can pinpoint if an enemy is above you, below you, to your left, right, all that. Wow. The rain, the ambiance of each different biome in the game just sounds different. But I think that's all lost if you're playing just through regular speakers. So if you have the means and you can have access to those headphones, definitely try it out, because it's really cool. It
was the one thing I was wondering about, because PlayStation sound, like, those, each game, the sound design of each is just amazing, like world class. I don't think it gets topped by anyone, and that's where I'll put the fanboy hat on. I truly believe that. That said, when I heard the composer of Midsummer was behind the composition here, I was like, okay, I'm definitely listening to this thing with headphones, because the way that they told or went through each environment or every scene in that movie was haunting in the most subtle ways. And I was like, what a perfect kind of marriage between projects for this game and that composer. My question here for you, going back to haptics, how do the haptics work? How do the adaptive triggers work?
So you guys have played Astrobot.
I have.
PlayStation 5. I'm sure a lot of the listeners have. Everyone was blown away by it. The haptics and the adaptive triggers. This one outdoes it, honestly. Yeah. Just like you touched on, like, Blessing's video that he put out. Once you experience that section of, like, going through the level, you feel the raindrops. It's so subtle that I didn't even notice it the first time I was going through it, but it wasn't until I put my controller down and it was vibrating. I was like, why is it vibrating? Like, there's no enemies attacking me or anything like that. And then I discovered, like, you can feel the raindrops hitting you, and you can feel the attacks. Like, everything has that extra level of immersion. Like, when you're firing a weapon, it feels responsive, and that's not only because of the adaptive triggers, it's because of the haptics. So I think this game takes advantage of really the whole console and its hardware, like, whether it's loading times, whether it's performance. I really think that Housemarque is the first studio that we've seen to do all the, like, check off all the boxes.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Now, would you like to tell Joe that he needs the haptics on at full blast here, because he turns them down for other games?
I got dumb old man hands. So sometimes I get carpal tunnel. Like, you can listen in closely, you can hear my wrist crack. Like, I'm breaking down, so I put it to medium.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll turn it up, Kyle.
All right, give it a shot.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. That's fantastic. The one thing that I want to also touch on is the adaptive triggers. So you sold me on this whole haptics thing. That's nuts. I can't wait. The triggers, though, I hear, like, you press something halfway, you press the trigger halfway down, and it's a special alt fire. Is that with, like, every weapon? Is that
every weapon?
Is it gimmicky? Does it get gimmicky at all, or
no? Like, I don't think so. It's a little jarring because it's essentially introducing you to a brand new button, if that makes sense. Something you're not used to, right? So so essentially you can hip fire the entire time you're playing in the third person perspective and all that, but when you pull down halfway, you'll feel that tension, and Celine will essentially, like, bring up the crosshairs of whatever gun you're using. If you go all the way down, it essentially kicks in the alt fire, like you said, and it's just a new method for that gun to put out a massive damage output. It's on a cooldown, so you can't just spam it, making the game easier. But I love the mechanic. I thought it was a really cool feature. And again, it just goes back to Housemarque just using the hardware that they have access to and just using it really smartly.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Another way that Housemarque uses or in the history of Housemarque, like I'm thinking of Super Stardust and I'm thinking of Resogun. The big thing was like, look at all the voxels on the screen. Like, isn't it pretty? All the effects and whatnot. And from the trailers, it seems like a natural progression, and all the ammo, the attacks from the enemies look bright and colorful. But my question is, does it ever get to be too much on the screen? Because sometimes, like, I played a game Thumper because of the Play at Home initiative thing, and I found my eyes to, like, hurt after maybe 20 minutes because there was so much going on the screen, very bright. And so I'm just wondering, like, is it too much visually at times?
Not too much. I think that they do a good job contrasting those really bright colors with all those that you're seeing in the trailer are in like the first biome, and they do a good job of contrasting those bright colors with the darker environments and stuff like that. Once you start progressing, you get away from that a little bit. They're more muted tones and stuff. But in terms of like everything being on screen, there's only been a couple times when I've experienced so much in the area and on screen that it affects the frame rates just a tiny bit, going from like 60 down. Nothing game breaking or anything like that. But no, I haven't experienced like fatigue because of the overwhelming experience. So I hope that's across the board with everyone so they can enjoy it.
Yeah. The one thing that I forgot to ask, because I'm a big dum-dum, how's the performance? Because I believe, if I'm not wrong, Gwendolyn Christie, the Game of Thrones actress, also Captain Phasma in Star Wars, she is the main character of Selene, if I'm not wrong. How's Selene's performance in this game?
I didn't know that.
I don't believe that's
Am I wrong? Okay,
yeah, I believe it's a different voice. I believe it's a different voice actor.
Okay.
The name is escaping me right now. She's good. The thing is that she's a character that doesn't.
Bayer.
Sorry.
And Bayer.
Bayer. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? Just I wish I could edit that out because I feel foolish.
Honestly, at first glance, it kind of does
absolutely
look like. Look like her, but it's a good performance. The character itself isn't that exciting in a way that makes you feel like, oh, this is like Aloy or something like that. She's a more academic character, more inquisitive. She approaches the subject of like being on this alien planet in a very academic way. She's trying to discover like what's going on here in a very studious fashion. So it's not. Her character's not bombastic, but I think that she does have an interesting narrative, backstory, everything like that. So I think people would be pleasantly surprised by the character of Selene.
Yeah, that's awesome. And last but not least, let's get to the gameplay. Let's talk difficulty, really. So I've seen a lot of previews, a lot of people talking vaguely about how hard this game gets later on. I know death is a mechanic in this game. But is this game a little bit too daunting? Is this game a little bit too difficult? I hear, Souls-like, I hear Bloodborne, I hear Dark Souls-esque difficulty. We joked a little bit prior that we're going to have this conversation all over again once this review goes live.
I believe it. By the time your audience is listening to this, that I have a feeling this discussion's already going to be happening on social media.
Yeah.
But, boiling it down, it is a difficult game, and I think it's really important that people understand that going into it, because I do feel like some of that difficulty is lost when you just watch a trailer. You don't really understand if all roguelike, if you have experience with a roguelike to begin with. I think there is a learning curve here. When you talk about difficult games like Soulsborne games, for instance, and compare it to this, I think aspects of Bloodborne make it easier than Returnal, because you do have that grind. In Returnal, when you die, you lose essentially everything with the exception of a few weapons or a few items you gain along the way. So I do feel like people are going to be turned off by this game because of its difficulty. There is no setting. There is no easy mode in this. You get what it is, and you just have to power through. I will say, though, it's balanced. I never feel like the game's treating me in an unfair way. I'm always encouraged to go for that neck. I'm incentivized all the time to say, okay, well, I screwed up this run. I'm going back in.
Right.
And that's the thing that always pulls me back in, is it's that gameplay loop. No matter how hard it is, I'm always enticed to go back.
That's all here. I like a good challenge. I think of this, when I think about this game, I think of games like Dead Cells, and Dead Cells is one of my most beloved games of last generation. Now, last but not least, unless Kyle, you want to jump in, you got any other questions?
Yeah, real quick, I wanna correct. It's not Ann Byer. I think is Celine's name or something. According to one article,
like her face actress, or
maybe.
Okay,
but she's voiced by an actress named Jane Perry.
Okay,
from Hitman.
Oh, really? Her?
That's right. Diana Burnwood. Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So yeah, but I always like to ask when we have a guest on talking about a game that they played is we're in the trophy room. So how's that trophy list, Steve? Is it doable? Am I going to not get it like Demon Souls or
the like the platinum?
Yeah. It's pretty tough.
It's kind of tough.
Right.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay,
that's fair.
I like a good challenge. You know me.
Same. So
step up to the plate. Let's see. Okay. I'm gonna try and go for it. But I love trophies, so
all right.
I cycle like that.
Is there like such a thing? Well, there is no difficulty, so there's no play it again on hard mode. But is there a trophy like you have to replay it from start to finish again?
I'd have to go back through it. I don't believe so.
That's good. I think it's music to my ears.
Yeah, New Game Plus.
I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that one because I only took a look at briefly when Exo Phase.
Okay,
that's fair. That's fair.
Cool. All right, gang. Oof. We got through it all. I feel very promised. Like this is everything I wanted in this game. The last question, though, we were worried. We didn't know what we were in for a couple months ago. We were like, why isn't Sony talking about this game? But now we've talked a whole lot about this game. The question that's on everybody's mind, is this game worth $70? Or for you in Canadian bucks, it's like 90, right?
It's like closer to 90, yeah. Yeah, 70 to 90. I know.
Is it worth the full price tag?
Again, I think it all goes back to the conversation of, do you know what you're getting yourself into? If you're buying this on a whim, I think that you might be disappointed with this game. If you love Housemarque, if you're craving a new challenging experience, yes. I'll say that. I think that Housemarque was very ambitious with this game. It's delivering a AAA experience that has tinges of like an indie property. I do think that it's worth the $70 to $90 investment, and it should be treated more as a AAA game based on the quality. In that regard, yeah.
Nice. Awesome. I'm hoping that with this game, it opens the door where we get like roguelites are now like bigger than indies. Like I love roguelites and I love indie games that use that mechanic, but I would love to see a game like this spark other big games that also use roguelike mechanics. Like I think that's fantastic.
I actually think Jedi Master Ren asks a question like that. Do you think this opens the door for bigger games to take a roguelike or roguelite genre? Do you think that this could start something on the AAA scale, or do you think this is just unique to Housemarque and Returnal?
Honestly, I think if that conversation's happening, it's happening because of Hades.
Yeah,
that's fair. That's 100%.
I think it's already. If a studio is even considering it, it started last year when Hades took off.
That's fair.
I think this is just gonna strengthen that argument when they're sitting in a boardroom saying, "Okay, are we actually going to do this?" Well, Housemarque's doing it, so why not?
Yeah. Steve, thank you so much for that review. No, that talk rather, because I was already sold. I'm very now, like I could breathe easy. You know, this is.
I can't wait to hear what you guys think when you guys start playing it later this week.
Yeah, we will be playing it on Friday, noon EST time, over on the Trophy Room Twitch channel. Link down below for that. Link down below for Steve's review on Returnal and all of Steve's stuff. With that, Kyle and Steve, that's what you've been playing. That's a huge. It's a huge what you've been playing for sure. But it's about time we square up the news, Kyle.
I'm laughing because I didn't think this was a real site, so my apologies. Josh Coulson from The Gamer Sony to invest an additional $183 million into PlayStation exclusives over the next year. PlayStation has been big on exclusives for a while now, and their continued success alone is proof that it is set to continue. In fact, as discussed by Sony CFO Hiroki Totoki this week, the plan going forward is to invest even more money in PlayStation's in-house projects. During a call with investors, Totoki revealed Sony plans to up its investment in that area by $183 million over the coming year. Quote, "We intend to increase development personnel and other in-house costs by approximately 20 billion yen, or 183 million, year on year, as we further strengthen our in-house software," Totoki revealed via VGC. This comes off the back of Sony publishing its financial report for the tax year ending in March 2021. As you might expect from a year that included the launch of the PS5, the numbers were very good. In addition to the story, Jeff Grubb writes, PlayStation first party had Miles Morales, Last of Us Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima, Demon's Souls, and more in 2020, but SIE expects even more revenue from first party games in 2021. Does that mean more surprise PS5 first party releases this year?
Question mark, intrigue. Also, I did not know the gamer existed either. Shout out to Nibel that came out with that tweet. So I want to throw this over to you, Steve, because Kyle and I have talked a lot about this during the past year of like, how is Sony going to go up against Microsoft in the way of, we see Microsoft buy out all these different types of developers, go out there, purchase Bethesda. They've been making these really big deals to help expand their studios. When you see an investment like this from Sony to PlayStation, what are your make of it? What is Sony's approach? Do you think it's investing in maybe multiple studios? Is it maybe a purchase of smaller studios like a Housemarque? What do you see Sony's future at the moment?
I think it's just business as usual for them, to be totally honest. I think don't fix what's not broken. You know, their winning selling feature right now is games, and they're doing it very well, as you know, evident by what Jeff Grubb said: Miles Morales, Last of Us Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima, Demon's Souls, upcoming Returnal, all that stuff. And right now, for the imminent future, I'm like, well, is there even a rush to put out solid first-party games when no one can get the console?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, granted, we have Returnal, we have Ratchet and Clank on the horizon, but when you're looking past that, there's not too much, and I don't think that there's an immediate need for much more than that until more consoles are available to people.
I mean, they just came out and said, hey, we sold 7.8 million PS5s in the middle of a pandemic, and we have outsold the PS4 with that type of number. It seems like manufacturing, I mean, it doesn't seem like it is, manufacturing just cannot keep up the pace with consumer demand on this. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I'm definitely there with you. This kind of, for me, screams business as usual. This is just them giving them a little bit more allowance to go out there and, you know, talk to Firewalk Studios about whatever, Haven, you know, make those type of partnerships. Because for PlayStation, they don't have to go out there and expand because what they got is working right now, you know? That said, Kyle, when I hear Jeff Grubb talk, or tweet rather, saying, listen, they expect a bigger return from this year. And last year we had Last of Us Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima, Demon's Souls, Miles Morales. Do you think Jeff Grubb is hinting at something here? Do you think that there is something over the horizon that we're not thinking about? Do you really think like something like Ragnarok's actually coming out this year?
I mean, I'm banking on it. I'm hoping so because I want it. Also, it's in my fantasy video game critic league against you, so I'm hoping so. But I don't think we need it. Okay. And even without it, I still think that statement might become true because Ratchet is huge. Yeah. Everyone that owns a PS5 is going to buy Ratchet. Returnal, I think the diehard PlayStation fans and people who listen to this show are going to buy Returnal. I don't know if everyone's going to rush out to the store on Friday and pick it up. But a game like Ratchet that kids can play, families, adults, grown men like me that want to play it day one and platinum it as soon as possible.
Yeah.
That's going to sell like gangbusters. In addition to Horizon, which is one of, not Last of Us and Uncharted are, but like a top 3 franchise in IP in PlayStation. If that comes out September, October, that thing's gonna sell huge as the holiday game for Sony. So I think just with those two combined, they're gonna make a ton of money, and they have universal appeal. Like Ghost of Tsushima was new, Demon Souls everyone knows is super hard. The best one on there as far as like a sales point is Miles Morales because it's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Even Last of Us, it's a darker game. It had all that controversy before it was released. But I think Ratchet and Horizon, the double combo right there is pretty powerful. A lot of games of those two are going to be sold.
Yeah, and I think when we look at like they expect a bigger year, I think that's also because they're selling this hardware, right?
Sure.
They're selling a $400, $500 thing coupled with, people are going to continue to buy Miles Morales. People are going to go out there and buy Ratchet and Clank. Kyle, what you said is spot on. My brother is just like, hey, did you see that Ratchet and Clank like commercial? That thing looks dope. And I'm like, yeah, and Returnal's coming out in 2 days. And he's just like, what? And we both own PS5. So like there is that universal appeal that Ratchet has. And you know, I saw when we're going to talk about it later, is everybody referring to it as a Pixar movie, you know, and so that has that universal kind of reaction of positivity, no matter what age you are. And so, I think with the current lineup that they have, with Ghost of Tsushima still selling as well as it has in Last of Us, that I think it's the previous catalog and then some is going to bolster the sales of or the sales projections of the PlayStation brand. So this is overall really great news. But I want to go to you, Steve, one last, because I forgot to ask this to you. Do you think, glimmer in your eye, a hope that there is something secretive that PlayStation's holding out on, or do you think that this is just more business as usual? Sony just continuing to crush it. Do you think that there's something that, we may not know that's actually coming out this year?
I read this question, or I read, Jeff Grubb's statement here and the question at the end, and it kind of read to me like he was asking that himself, not as a hint or a nod to people reading, but like he was genuinely curious, because when I think about it, I'm like, who's left? Who could be potentially working on something that's a first party that could viably get something out this year? Because I'm not even, to be honest, I'm not even 100% convinced that Horizon's coming out this year. So we all know production delays because of COVID and all that. Sony's just been quiet overall, but especially quiet regarding Horizon. So when I think about what kind of surprises from first party studios, I don't know. Maybe it's escaping my mind, but the Last of Us Part 2 multiplayer,
that's also on Kyle's Fantasy Game Critic, so I have to root against it. I have to say nay to it. I also think the one thing that I think I blanked on is how many, and albeit like smaller and indie-ish games, but like, we got like Sifu out there, we have Kena, and Kena has a lot of eyes on it. So I think that, the second party deals maybe is what he may be alluding to, or maybe is the thing on the roadmap that we don't quite see yet, but it's awesome to see. And, PlayStation Plus continuing to kill it. They just announced that it's up to 47 million, a growth of almost 15%. So like PlayStation's looking good. And as much doom and gloom there has been over the past few weeks, there has been a lot of hope in the past 2 weeks of, no, everybody, ship was not on fire. We're just overreacting. So, I'm pretty hopeful. That said,
also, Kyle, not to mention, MLB The Show just came out, and that's a first party studio.
That's a great point. Yeah,
that's a lot of money that's coming into that game.
Absolutely.
As far as like buying stubs for
Baseball.
The Diamond Dynasty thing.
Yeah. And it's on another platform. It's on Game Pass. So you're right. Maybe just that alone could help boost those numbers up in a big way. I heard someone go, because I didn't have to pay for this game, I spent $100 in stubs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're a lunatic, but
I put some money into subs. I got the fever a little bit.
You got the fever?
I got it. I got the fever.
All right. But like $100 worth?
I refuse to say how much. I'm a little ashamed of how much money I put into it, but it's that feeling of it's a baseball game. It's one of my favorite games year in, year out.
American pastime.
Combined with the fact that you can't get real cards in the store because scalpers keep buying them out, Pokemon and sports cards, like it's giving me that feel. So that's why I put some extra money in there.
Listen, I am also ashamed of how much money I've spent in Fortnite, so I feel you. But honestly, Fortnite, you make a zombie kills skin in there. I got some V-Bucks. All right?
Yeah. I don't play Fortnite, but I will get that skin.
Bam, toss it your way. Epic, free money right there. Kyle, here's a news story that you're going to be very excited for. Me, I'm kind of whelmed.
Joe Scrabbles over at IGN writes, The Last of Us Part 3 has a plot, but it's not being made yet. Naughty Dog has written a story outline for The Last of Us Part 3, but isn't making the sequel right now. Creative director Neil Druckmann says he hopes it can, quote, one day see the light of day, end quote. Speaking on an episode of the Script Apart podcast about the writing of The Last of Us Part 2, Druckmann touched briefly on the possibility of a sequel. Quote, I don't know how much I want to reveal. Co-writer Haley Gross and I did write an outline for a story that we're not making, but I hope one day can see the light of day. That explores a little bit what happens after this game. We'll see, end quote. It seems that Naughty Dog is currently exploring what to do next. Quote, after we finish one of our big titles, Druckmann explained, we take a long time to explore different ideas, whether it's going to be Last of Us 3, whether it's something new, whether there's some old franchise we want to go back to. I like to fully explore all of those, and then look at, like, okay, we have all of these ideas in front of us. As a studio, what do we want to commit to? Because it's a huge commitment. Monetary, time, passion, talent. So you think about all the opportunity costs that come with that, end quote.
Okay. This is a pretty big quote. I don't know if this is the biggest deal in the world to me, but I think maybe this interview is a reaction to the Jason Schreier piece a bit. Jason Schreier was also on the MinMax podcast, and he talked about how, there was supposed to be DLC for The Last of Us Part 2. That didn't happen. That they are in this weird flux of what Naughty Dog is going to do next. That said, Kyle, I'll go to you here first. What do you want Naughty Dog to do next? When you hear that they have a story out there, they don't know if they want to tell it, but they got it outlined, they got it plotted. Do you want them to go back to the Last of Us Part 3? Do you want this studio to go in a different direction?
I would love Naughty Dog to do a new IP first. And just the fact that they have an outline for this game, I'm not expecting this for many years still, because the same thing was said, I forgot where the interview was with Neil, but I believe as soon as Last of Us Part 1 was wrapping up and it was in people's hands, he sat down with Troy and was like, listen, I know where Part 2 is going. I have an idea for Part 2. I have an outline. So, and that still was years later until we got Part 2. So I think it's kind of cool that they have an outline and they know what they want the story to kind of be like. I appreciate thinking that far ahead, even though I'll say again, I don't think we need a Part 3. I'm happy with the way Part 2, well, happy in quotation marks, like I'm happy with the experience we got from Part 2, at least from me. But we don't need a Part 3, but I'll gladly play it whenever it comes out. But I do want a new IP. I really want them to make a space game, man. I really want Naughty Dog to tackle space. I think that would be so spectacular, visually stunning, and just a ton of fun to play. That's what I want from them.
Steve, would you want to see a Jak and Daxter game? What this studio has done? Because when they talk about revisiting classics or revisiting franchises, I don't think of Uncharted. I do think of Jak and Daxter.
I'll be honest, I don't really want that. I'm with Kyle here. I want them to do space would be awesome. I also want them to do that superhero game. I want them to commit to like what they were teasing with those cards. Like just go all in on that. Yeah, honestly, and I read this news and the first thing I said was, well, yeah, duh. I mean, obviously you don't make a super successful game that has an open ending and say, well, maybe we'll one day revisit this. No, you immediately start drafting, little outlines and stuff like that.
Yeah.
If this ever comes out, or I'm assuming it will at one point, I'm not banking on this coming out until the end of the PlayStation 5 generation. Keep it in tow with what's happened with the rest of the series. I don't think we need it. I'm kind of with you, Kyle. Truth be told, I didn't think we needed part 2 to begin with. Also, I thought Last of Us was definitively a great game, but I appreciate part 2, and I'm sure I'll appreciate part 3 if they have a good story.
Same. Yeah. I'm right there with you. Like, Uncharted, Last of Us part 1, it was my favorite game of all time for so many years, and is the game that I go to when people are like, what is a video game? It's silly, right? It's a jump man on a stick. Like, I don't do that. I always show them The Last of Us part 1's beginning intro. For me, I want them to take a break from The Last of Us. I think we kind of not to say, and when I talk about The Last of Us, if it feels negative, I really do love part 2. I think it's a great game. I prefer it more than Uncharted 1, but at the same exact time, we need a break. I cannot go through it. Neil, look at me. I can't do this again. Give me a 5 to 7 year break, man. I can't go on this journey. It's so much. So
I had a list. What was the number of how many times I cried? Do you remember? It was like 30 something times in part 2.
I'd stab a dude in the neck and he'd plead for his best friend. I'm like, oh God, what is this? It was gross.
A lot.
Gross. Yeah, I had to shoot like dogs of bombs on their chest, Kyle. It was not.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't feel much for him. That's surprisingly enough for me, but it's an emotional game, so I would want them to go do something else. Like, I was thinking Jak and Daxter, and I know someone gave a shit of like, stop saying reprising these old franchises of old, but like something in that vein of like, this is something cartoonish. It's something totally opposite of what this bleak existence is.
Sure.
The devs need it more than anything. But at the same exact time, you look at a Jak and Daxter, you're like, oh, what? No, I think they're past that point in their development that they don't need to go to the well. I think, let's do a space game. Let's do something where it is not grounded like The Last of Us is, or based in somewhat reality that Uncharted is, and let's let them be a little weird. So I'm right there with you. Though it's been plotted, I don't think you're Disney with the sequel trilogy of Star Wars. You have an idea here of where this story's headed. I just want that team to take a break, because I know how much of a heavy game that is. And just thinking about, if you're a developer there and your whole job that entire week is to animate a knife going into a guy's throat, it's like, that's taking a lot out of you. So I want them to kind of recharge their creative batteries in an interesting way, for sure.
And I do think that leads towards a new IP, because you mentioned Jak and Daxter. I don't know if Sony wants 2 family-friendly platforming games out of 2 of their PlayStation studios with Ratchet and Jak and Daxter. Yeah, so and they could go back to Uncharted. I mean, I'm on the side of things, I wouldn't hate that, especially with the way 4 ended with a new protagonist. But I just think, why not add to a long list of new, fresh IPs that Sony's making, like Guerrilla did with Horizon and Insomniac with Spidey, and just do something brand new. So now you have 3 games you can hop back and forth, 3 franchises you can go back and forth between.
I definitely would like to see them do a multiplayer game.
Oh yeah, Factions is fantastic. That's the one multiplayer game that sucked me in, because I don't play multiplayer, Steve.
Yeah.
But Factions,
Factions is great.
When I went for the platinum in the first game last summer before 2 came out, I got sucked into that mode and played it nonstop for days. It's so good.
Yeah, I would like to see, because a lot of people overlook, I think, those multiplayer experiences, because they're really great. Like Uncharted 2's multiplayer, some of my favorite multiplayer.
4's is pretty great too.
Yeah, like Last of Us remastered, that multiplayer was fantastic. Like Fractions is what, or Factions, it's fantastic. And maybe that's what their next project is kind of like that multiplayer DLC. But honestly, I'd love to see that. That said, gang, I don't know if you hear it outside. There's a thunderstorm happening.
Ooh.
So yeah, you heard it too, Steve. So
all the way, Toronto.
Yeah. So let me say, Poseidon may make their reveal here on the show rather shortly. That said, Kyle, we got some Flash news that is absolutely freaking exciting. Take it away.
Joe Scrubbles at IGN writes, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart State of Play coming this week, and new protagonist gets a name. Sony has announced the Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart State of Play broadcast for this Thursday, April 29th. Insomniac has also revealed the name of the game's mysterious new female Lombax protagonist, Rivet. The State of Play broadcast will include 15 minutes of new gameplay from the upcoming PS5 exclusive and begins at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, and 10 p.m. UK time. That's April 30th at 7 a.m. AEST. We also get a short new cinematic gameplay trailer to tide us over.
The most famous Seamus I have ever met in my whole entire life, and now your life, writes in. So, we now know the name of the female Lombax in Ratchet & Clank. Her name, Rivet, voiced by the always amazing Jennifer Hale. My question is, where are your hype levels for this game? And what do you hope to see from Rivet's gameplay to differentiate it from Ratchet's? Steve, I'm going to go to you on this one. You mentioned it earlier. This new trailer popped. It blew my mind. Where were you on the day the hype new levels? Ratchet trailer is at? Yeah.
I'm up there. Hype levels, I'm at a solid 8.59 right now. Consistently, to be honest, since I saw the first gameplay of this game, I think what Insomniac is doing is unreal. I think it's going to be utilizing the hardware itself. For the question of what do I hope to see from Rivet, I think that's really interesting because Ratchet & Clank has never been a franchise I have expectations for. It's always been something I've passively just waited for. I feel like Insomniac has proven themselves to be a very worthy studio to begin with, but especially with that IP, I'm going to let them tell me what they want to do with this character and how it will be different from Ratchet, to be honest. So
yeah,
I don't know the first thing about what they could do differently, but I'm excited to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. What say you, Kyle? Like,
oh man,
this game looks beautiful. It looks fantastic. Where's your hype? Where's your hype?
Oh, all at max capacity. It's never wavered.
Yeah.
When it's come to this game, from first reveal at the PS5 reveal event and every single thing we've seen since then, it's at an all-time high. I love a good platformer. I love Ratchet and Clank. I can't believe that I didn't pick up on Rivet. Like, that just makes so much sense because she uses a hammer.
Yeah.
Like, that just and we see a little bit of how she plays in the trailer. Like, she's like phasing and doing like a sidestep and phasing through. Like, so if she's like quicker and more agile than Ratchet is as far as like evasion techniques, that would be super cool. And just seeing just how, like, without even playing it, right, you can see how this game takes advantage of the PS5. Like in that trailer, like Rivet walks up to that crystal, smacks it, and loads a brand new world right in front of your eyes.
Yeah.
No little floaty circle thing on the bottom corner that says it's loading in, or no real stutter. It just happens. So I am so excited. I think doesn't she also like wall run and stuff too?
I believe
like
so.
In the trailer.
Yeah.
So like I think she's gonna be a faster version of Ratchet, and that opens up a lot of doors, I think.
Yeah. I'm right there with all you guys. Ratchet and Clank is a game that I just jump in and I got no thoughts in my head of what this game could be. I know what it is. It's gonna be like this joke of capitalism run amok in this galaxy. And I'm just kinda here for the humanoid looking animals. But I think, Seamus, when you asked this, I was like, oh shit. I didn't even think about, because Rivet can't be just a reskin Ratchet, right? Like she has a robotic arm. You do see in the trailer her phase into multiple, multiple herselves and then collapsing back into herself. Like, you did see what could be, I think, an awesome character that zips in and out of combat, like using that hammer in a more I guess personal way of like you zip it in there, beating people with your augmented fists or hammer, and then like zipping out of the action. Like, you could be a much more, I guess, close range character than maybe a Ratchet could be. but I'm really interested of how, those weapons speak to her, and at the same exact time, how they're going to use these two characters. Like, can I use Rivet in a Ratchet level? Can I use Ratchet in a Rivet level? Those are the things I'm kind of thinking about, you know, because I would love it to, like, if I wanted to, I could just play the whole game as Rivet, or if I wanted to play the whole game as Ratchet once I'm done with the first playthrough. Right. Yeah, it's awesome to see that, boys and girls are going to have two really cool characters to look up to. The voice acting, I was surprised. Jennifer Hale is top notch. So, Steve, I'll go to you first. Yeah. What are your thoughts on Jennifer Hale becoming Rivet?
Come on, that's awesome. What a great get for this game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And also, I'm like, how did she get a voice like that? It's just pure talent.
Oh, I know. it's unremarkable. And yeah, to have like a voice acting icon introduced in this established franchise, join the fray is great, and I can't wait to see what that storyline is going to be like for that character.
Absolutely. I'm right there with you. Kyle, are you excited to stream this state of play? It's 15 minutes long, or 15 minutes of gameplay from Ratchet and Clank: A Rift Apart,
including look at 2 indies.
2 indies. So Kyle, we're going to be streaming this at 5 p.m. EST time. What do you think over at the PS Trophy Room on Twitch? What do you think those 2 indies are?
So it's hard to pick because there's so many to choose from, which is such a good thing. Because you know me, I love my indie games.
It's true.
So I don't think Kina is going to be it. I think Kina had that update. It's pushed to August. So I think if we get another state of play in a couple months, then we'll see Kina. So I'm taking Kina out of it. I don't think it's Goodbye Volcano High. I just don't think you want to show too much of that game because it's so story driven. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that's going to be it. So I'm down to Jet the Far Shore, Little Devil Inside, and Stray. I think it's going to be 2 of those 3. I'm leaning towards Stray.
Yeah.
And I'm leaning towards Jet the Far Shore.
I think those games, kind of coupled with Ratchet, are really good. Like that's that's a nice wide palette, because if you brought Kina in there, it's just like, okay, more cartoons, and that's what the average layman or toxic person will say. I would love that, but it's too similar, or in the same vein. I would love to see Solar Ash.
That's a good one too.
Solar Ash really, really caught me by surprise, and I would absolutely love another look at Sifu. I think it's Sifu because Sifu's on the cover of the PlayStation UK magazine.
Oh.
So okay. I think it's it. Steve, do you have any hype for indies?
I love indies. Yeah, absolutely. And truth be told, when I read that tweet talking about the 2 indies, the first one I went to was Sifu.
Yeah.
Mostly because, I'm looking forward to that game as well. But then, Kyle, when you said Stray, I was like, oh, it's been a while since we've seen Stray, and I'm looking forward to that game. It looks cool. And I just completely forgot about it. So I would love to see more of it.
Yeah, the three that I narrowed it down to, I believe, had a 2021 thing during the PS5 reveal presentation thing. So, and I think that's the last time we heard from them.
I'm pretty sure. I can't recall another time that they talked about that game.
Dark Horse, Hades coming to PlayStation. Dark Horse, not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. But that's what I'm waiting for. The day
before their own roguelike.
I know. It's a little weird, but yeah.
I think Hades has that much hype around it, that much love.
E3 level.
Yeah, that is, and it's so strange because when Hades was first revealed, it was kind of it kind of avalanched suddenly, but it avalanched to be this huge entity, which is just so freaking awesome to see, but yeah, I'm really excited for the state of play. I can't wait. The thing is, they don't need to show me anymore. What I got from this trailer, there is no deviation from gameplay, it seems, to the cinematics. Yeah, Kyle, you're raising your hand. Yes,
I am. is there a weapon or something that they can show off in this Ratchet and Clank gameplay that will have you hyped? For me, I'm a sucker for Mr. Zurkon. So show me Mr. Zurkon and let me hear him spout one-liners as he's killing things. I'll be happy.
Yes. That one got me real good. Yeah, the names of all the weapons are so silly and stupid. I do love the weapon that turns everything 16-bit. That thing.
Oh, the pixelizer.
The pixelizer. Yeah. That thing's so awesome. Again, like this game, it's just gonna crush it, man. I have so much. Insomniac is the best studio. I love them so very much. I just want them to love us back by giving us a follow at PS Trophy. You know, all the love I give, all the Miles Morales love. I'm going to beat it again on PS4. I got nothing else to play until Returnal. So there is a plus to the Dum Dum delivery we got on PlayStation. Get to platinum it twice. Kyle, here's the last bit of second to last bit of Flash news. I forgot to add in the PlayStation Plus game, but take it away.
Sure. PlayStation absolutely dominates the DICE Awards. Sucker Punch's historical sandbox Ghost of Tsushima took home 4 awards, while The Last of Us Part 2 won 2, and Dreams and Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales scooped 1 apiece. Roguelike Hades was the biggest winner of the night, taking home the coveted Game of the Year, Gong, and an overall total of 5 awards. The Ghost of Tsushima wins are Adventure Game of the Year, Outstanding Art Direction, Outstanding Original Music, and Audio Design. The Last of Us Part 2 wins Animation and Story. Miles Morales won Outstanding Achievement in Character, and Dreams won Outstanding Technical Achievement.
Also, this comes from Sammy Barker over at Push Square. My apologies. Should have gave you a shout out before. My bad. Kyle? Listen, PlayStation went to work at the DICE Awards.
And FF7 Remake won RPG of the Year as well.
Technically
a PlayStation exclusive.
Technically. Suck it, Xbox dorks. Love y'all. We kid. Everybody settle down. The one thing that I found peculiar, first off, Hades absolutely crushed it. Yeah. I'm surprised that Last of Us Part 2 only got two awards here, Kyle. What say you?
I'm not.
No?
I think the 2 they won, they absolutely deserve.
That's true.
Hands down. Yeah. I just know how divisive that game was as a full 20-hour game, where the heaviness of playing through that really did affect people's views on that game, and which is fine. I'm not saying you're wrong for that at all.
No, you are. Feel bad.
But I mean, sure, whatever. I think it's a masterpiece. It's my favorite game of last year. It's my game of the year, all that jazz. But the 2 that it won, I'm so happy it did, because they are top of the line of all the other categories for sure.
Yeah. And also, like, it seems like indie games here have a far better chance of succeeding than in most other places. I mean, Hades really, I think, because last year Untitled Goose Game won, and we all kind of scratch our heads going, really? I mean, we know it was a slow year, but really? But like, Hades definitely made sense. Steve, what are your thoughts on all the winners and losers? Is there anyone that got it maybe wrong that you would have maybe rather, like, I don't know, audio design be in the Last of Us camp? Is there anything you would have replaced?
Truth be told, no. I'm looking through this list and it all adds up. You look at Ghost of Tsushima and art direction, music, audio, absolutely, and adventure, absolutely. That game excelled in those categories. Same with The Last of Us, like Kyle said. Animation, story, come on. Yeah. Naughty Dog killed it with that. And then Miles Morales, outstanding achievement in character. I'm so glad that they're looking at Miles Morales and seeing what Insomniac did with that character for that game. And then Dreams, outstanding technical achievement. I mean, sure, it's not blowing up like gangbusters, but it's still a very great platform for creators to go in, tinker around, and create their own games. So I'm looking at all of this and saying yes. DICE had their finger on the pulse and nailed it as far as I'm concerned. And then, of course, shout out Hades, Game of the Year at the DICE Awards. Which, truth be told, because I always find like the DICE Awards kind of align with my, at least, speculations or guesses when we look at like the Jeff Keighley's Game Awards, because I was like, yeah, Hades is definitely going to be Game of the Year.
Right.
It's this, up and coming game. But no, it was here at the DICE Awards, so good on them.
Yeah.
I'm stoked for them.
I'm very excited. Sorry, go for it, Kyle.
No, I just jokingly, because I forgot Untitled Goose Game 1, and I was just looking back at what it won against.
Yeah.
What against Control?
Yeah.
Death Stranding, Disco Elysium, and Outer Wilds. That's crazy.
And that's the game that they said. Not Disco Elysium, not this beautifully crafted, beautifully
not
told.
Control.
Not
my game of the year that year. Control was awesome.
No. A game where you're a goose being a dick.
That's cool though.
I mean, cool.
Yeah, Outer Wilds got robbed. Let's be honest.
Yeah. And I gotta say, when it comes to Ghost of Tsushima, it won. It didn't get snubbed like in Jeff Keighley's awards. This one, I feel like, best adventure game of the year. That was definitely Ghost. It was so much fun. Best art direction. Man, that game's beautiful. Best original music. I listen to that music when I'm working out. Believe it or not. And look at me, I don't do it often, but when I do, it's Ghost of Tsushima. And audio design, yeah, absolutely. And I think even in terms of open world, I mean, it doesn't get better than that. That said, there is one last story that I want to talk about here, and it is the games that are going to be coming out for the PlayStation Plus games of May 2021. This is the last bit of Flash news. We're getting Battlefield 5, Stranded Deep, and Wreckfest. Not that great this month.
I think it's a good variety.
Yeah.
I don't know what Stranded Deep is though. I meant to look that up.
Yeah, I think it's like you go to it's kind of like what's that Tom
survival game?
Yeah, what's that Tom Hanks movie?
Castaway.
Listen, yeah, it's kind of like Castaway. So I'll check it out for sure. Not as strong. I think this is the weakest month since PlayStation Plus has launched. Or sorry, PlayStation 5 has launched.
I think
I'm sorry. I'm not here today, gang. Steve, could you look at me dumbfounded? Really good.
Whatchamacallit?
Go for it.
I think Battlefield 5 is good.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because Battlefield is teasing a reveal of their next game, so you gotta assume that's coming sooner now, with that being in PS Plus. Always love getting I put in quotes, even though to me they're free, a free racing game, especially a PS5 version of Wreckfest. I'm hoping it's fun. I'll definitely be downloading, because that's the one game I have not tried on my PS5 yet, a racing game. So I want to see how it works.
And the full title is Drive Hard, Die Last.
Ooh. That's exciting. Gives me some split-second vibes, which is a dope racing game.
Right. Gives me Destruction All-Star vibes, Kyle.
And then Stranded Deep I won't touch, because I don't like survival games that much.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I mean,
But you should add them all to your library, and anyway, because that's what you should do. Just add them all.
One last question. Do you think one of these indies is going to, shadow drop on PlayStation Plus? That are going to get announced alongside Ratchet? Revealed?
Ooh, no.
No? All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Now, that said, gang, as you know, I'm not on my A game this week. It's been a rough week here. I just want to first and foremost thank everybody this week for bearing with us. Apple Podcasts really did a number on us, and we are now back at full capacity. So thank you everybody that reached out. Thank you for everybody with the compliments of the now new logo. We had to do all sorts of revisions, and just getting that to appear on Apple Podcasts, it was something else. We do have one bit of the Sony Pony Express today that I want to get to.
Yeehaw!
Yeehaw! And I'm trying to get to it, but I can't find it.
Steve, what's your favorite Housemarque game before Returnal?
Resogun.
Hell yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. I've gone back to that recently, and
have you?
It feels the same, but I don't remember it looking nearly as good like back when it first launched. I think they changed some of the way the character models and stuff works.
Okay.
It's very blocky and a little bit more arcadey type of stuff.
Sure.
Oh, we already answered that question, y'all.
Okay.
Thank you. But you know what? Before we get on out, because Sony Pony Express did close down early this week. So the tubes, they're all sealed shut until next week, which I guess by next week they'll be open and everybody will be sending questions. But let's end the show with what you've been playing. We got Steve's. Let's end on what you've been playing now, because Kyle, like we both talked, we've been shuffling through some games. So what are some notable ones that you'd like to talk about before we close the show here?
Sure. Before I get to the exciting one, I feel like a lot of members of the community will be happy with. Somebody a few weeks ago, I think, mentioned, and I'm sorry I forgot who. They're like, "Hey, Kyle, you're looking for something to play. You've always said you haven't experienced Final Fantasy 15 yet. You've bought it on launch day.
Yeah.
It's been sitting on your shelf for years. It's time to play it in the downtime before Returnal." And so I booted it up, and I played 5 or 6 hours of that game, and I'm just now getting story. I did not like how this game opened up. The very brief thing in the beginning, and then it's like, here's the open world. Here's some icons, some side quests, whatnot. But you don't really get into the story until after you focus and you're like, all right, I'm tired of doing all this stuff. Let me go straight to the next quest. And there it is, and then it hits you with it. And I'm enjoying where this story is going to take me. I think it's a little weird. It's just 4 bro dudes on the road. Just
one loves to
cooking
cook,
meals for each other. One's taking pictures.
Bros. Just being bros.
You know, I get
the classic group, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone's got friends like that.
Yeah, just a couple of boys on the escalator.
I think 4 bro dudes in leather running around and open world.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
But I am excited to finally play it. It is pretty good. And I think from what I've heard from Returnal, it might be a nice little second game to bounce back and forth with.
Okay.
Combat's a little simple to me.
Yes.
I'm literally just holding down a button and it's attacking for me. Very little dodging, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just not playing it correctly. But the big one is because GameStop had it on sale for $15. I picked up Resident Evil 2.
God bless. Yeah. God bless.
Year 2021, becoming a Resident Evil fan. I mentioned before, I think you asked me on a show or maybe off the show, when I would play that, and I said probably not until next year.
You're very defensive about it. You're like, I can't do another one of these.
I can't do it just because I've watched this being played by multiple YouTubers like 2 or 3 times. So I thought I knew the story. I played the demo. I thought it felt fresh in my mind, and last night when I was streaming it, I was like, okay, I remember a couple of these pieces. And then at some point, I'm just like, okay, I don't remember anything. I know Mr. X is coming soon.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, it's feeling fresh. It's way more different behind the sticks of a controller.
Yeah.
Very spooky. I'm loving it. I'm having a great time with it.
So we've been playing Final Fantasy, Resident Evil 4, right? For the Road to Greatness, which should be recorded by the end of this week. Someone quote me on that. Thank you, Tim Apple, for delaying the Road to Greatness, you son of a gun. But I did win 3-0 against you. But like Resident Evil 4, 4 is as great as it is. There's nothing that for me beats Resident Evil 2. I love that game so much.
Early on, I can agree.
Yeah, it's that one's great, and it doesn't. What I feel like 4 did towards the end is it doesn't feel like it's wasting your time. And when you get to replay it as I get to replay it as Claire, sorry.
Claire.
It's the same area, but the changes. Oh God, I can't. When you told me you got Resident Evil 2, I'm just like, start at Leon. You're going to thank me later. Your heart cannot take it playing as Jill, because Jill to me is essentially like hard mode. You get less space, and you get visited by some characters way early. So yeah, it is a spooky time. But I also think
shout out to everyone from here, the community that hopped by and was excited to see me get spooked. Metal Kirby, Nagachaka, Jose. I believe Metal Kirby had a spook counter. Every time I got scared, I think I got up to 5.
Oh my goodness!
That's a decent number.
Yeah, a lot of corners where you turn and there's just two zombies leaping at you. I'm like, son of a bitch, how dare you?
Exactly.
My heart can't take this. Come on.
Yeah, for me, I've been trying to I've been dabbling everywhere. So for Housemarque, Housemarque's coming out, Returnal's coming out, whatever. I wanted to play some Housemarque games. And I was like, let's play Resogun. Let's platinum Resogun. And then I remembered I am not good at Resogun.
Oh, that's a fun platinum though.
It's very fun. Really, those type of shoot 'em ups. They just, not that they don't jive with me, I'm just not great with them. So I'm just like, you know what? I can't see the one dot that I constantly hit and I explode into a million pieces. But I do respect the fact that, with this shmup, I get to go into an editor and actually make my own ship or go into the created ships and just play as the Millennium Falcon or an X-Wing constantly.
Yeah.
But shame on that community. Absolutely shame for not adding a DeLorean. Come on. We all know that's the best sci-fi vehicle.
Now, Steve, we know you've been playing Returnal, but what's the next game that you're looking forward to play? Or is there anything else you're playing, or is it just Returnal?
Primarily, it's just been Returnal. Before that, I was playing Control for a bit.
Hell yes.
And can't even really. Call of Duty Warzone is always just a fun social game between me and my friends. We always love jumping in. The next game, I don't even know, to be honest. Resident Evil Village, obviously. That's a huge one. Mass Effect Legendary.
My helmet's coming
in the mail. There's a lot coming in.
My helmet is coming in the mail.
That's wicked.
Yeah, I know. I cannot wait.
So jealous.
The one thing I do want to talk about, too, before we head on out, is I played Sly Cooper because I wanted to, get accustomed to these games. Sly Cooper, the first game, could die in a fire. I don't think the bosses are cheap bullshit, and I hate them. I'm on the third boss with the mirrors.
Excuse me, sir?
Yeah, die in a fire. But I'm willing to go back once things are fine. I also think it's part with PlayStation Now. Some of the latency sometimes I have a problem with.
That's totally fair.
Yeah, because some things are like quick reactions. I'm like, dude, I know I pressed this goddamn input. But then I tried. We talked a little bit last week. Infamous 1 and 2. Here's a hot take, Kyle. I know you're gonna get upset when I say this. Second Son is just better. Second Son is just better. He is
gameplay wise.
Yep, gameplay wise, character wise, even.
Oh, okay.
Character wise, even. I don't like Cole. I don't like Cole.
I love Second Son.
Okay.
Yeah, some might say in one of our ill-fated shows where we had a judge, and because of your crazy rules, Second Son was the best PlayStation exclusive of all time.
We got to redo that show. It doesn't count.
But I mean, Infamous 2 is top notch.
It's just those weird awkward years with PlayStation where they're like, let's put the shoot button in hour 1. And I'm like, I can't do it.
That's from a controller input standpoint. I mean, that has nothing to do with characters or.
Sure. I'll give it another chance. You know what it is? It's Zeke. It's Zeke. I can't stand him. And I'm honestly rooting that he dies. With that face, yikes. I really, dude, his character. I'm just a few hours in, but it's like nails on a chalkboard with him. I can't take it. I don't know. Maybe
I feel like he'll grow on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys are talking to me like something awful is about to happen to Zeke, and now I kind of feel bad saying that. But last but not least, I do want to say that I did talk to a skeleton on a crossroads who offered to sell my soul to do something completely against an abomination of sorts. Really, I took my DualShock 4 controller and my iPhone, and I played Halo 2 Anniversary Edition on Game Pass using my DualShock controller via the xCloud on my iPhone.
I don't know how to process that.
Man, no, dude. What an age we're living in.
Right?
Am I right?
Jeez.
It's the ultimate crossing of the streams.
Yeah. 3 streams, in fact.
Yeah.
You got Apple, Xbox, PlayStation.
All of it. And you know what? The experience is... Here's where internet's going to get at me right here.
Uh-oh.
Overrated. It wasn't good. I did not have a good time with it.
Really?
Constantly lagged. If you just stop, like, you have to constantly be moving or else you just start chugging. And it's weird because, like, I'm in my house, I have gigabit. This shouldn't be happening to me. But I'm just like, this is really cool tech that isn't there at the moment. And that's maybe because I'm going through a browser. Maybe that's the thing. But again, it is in beta.
Sure. Have you tried it on Android?
No, this is an Android free house.
Hey, I'm right there with you.
Okay,
Apple iPhone here.
Good.
No, I was just asking because I've tried it on Android as well, and I was surprised.
Yeah.
Like when it came out, I was stoked because when they announced it, I was like, man, think about traveling, think about going to events and stuff, and in the meantime, like being able to play games on the go and everything. And then the pandemic hit, and I was like, well, now I'm not that excited for this.
Yeah.
You know, I could just go downstairs and play my Xbox, but I hope that, you know, when the world returns back to normal,
sure.
Everything will be in like a much better place, like as far as the infrastructure goes.
I definitely feel like this is a couple ways off. And with that said, people that have Android phones, first off, you make me sick. Secondly,
get out of here.
It's only kidding. Rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. But like Android users, they're like, oh no, this is fine. Like what my one buddy's like, oh, this is great. Like playing Dead Cells, it was decent for me. I lagged in the beginning and then things got a little normal at the end. So I definitely feel like this is gonna be a thing for people with like low end PCs. I think that's where the future of this truly is.
Sure.
Yeah, because I was just like, you know what? If there's some dedicated, like, hook this up, like, LAN cable it, it's going to be fine. But until then, it's just not there yet. That's fine. That said, that's been the Trophy Room, a PlayStation show. I've been your host, Joseph, alongside my friend Kyle. But before we head on out, Steve, is there anything you'd like to spotlight on your way out?
Yeah, you guys can follow me on Twitter at @svigvari. You guys can also find my work on squadstate.com and join us on our podcast, Squad State, on twitch.tv/squadstate every Monday at 11 a.m. Or, sorry, not 11, 2:30. Wow, I can't even think of times right now. This is what I said earlier. Time is irrelevant at this point. 3 o'clock p.m. EST every Monday, twitch.tv/squadstate. Holy.
You nailed it. I've never seen a close that perfect in my life. Are you kidding me? Link to all Steve's stuff down below. Honor. You absolutely crushed it this episode. Usually we say this.
Thank you guys.
At the end of the show, you did fantastic. It was a blast having you on here.
Yeah, it was great being here. Thank you guys so much for the invite.
Absolutely. Yeah, the door is always open. Kyle. But it's time to shut your door. I don't know.
Door shut.
Bam. Anything you'd like to spotlight before you head on out of here?
Sure, you can follow me on Twitter at Mr. Kstep and friend me on PSN with the same ID, Mr. Kstep there as well. If you want to follow whatever I do over at 61indie.com, where we uplift indie game developers and spotlight smaller indie games that we deserve or that we think deserves more people. Well, oh my God, that we think more people should play. There we go. That's twitch.tv/61indie, youtube.com/61indie, and 61indie on Twitter. Also, little secret time. Next week's going to be a big week in Trophy Room. So,
you don't say, Kyle.
Be prepared for news coming out pretty soon.
You don't say.
Yeah. Joe, I want to kick Joe's ass because I'm afraid he's going to spill the beans before we're allowed to say something. And he's killing me here.
It's killing me on the inside, Kyle. I can't do it. Can't do it anymore, Kyle. I'm losing it. You can find me over at Mr. Badbit on Twitter. You can find the show at PS Trophy Room on Twitter. You can find the show as well on whatever podcast app you use, whether it's Apple Podcasts, rate us 5 stars, Spotify, Google Play, wherever there's an RSS feed, you could probably find the show there. And if you can't, you let me know. I'll fight Tim Apple again. I'll do it. And you know what? I'll win again. that said, and all that said, and all that out of the way, make sure you follow us on twitch.tv/PS Trophy Room, and you could catch the video version of the Trophy Room on YouTube. And yes, this is going to be a big week for the Trophy Room next week, so keep an eye out, especially on Monday. We got some cool stuff coming at you, and I can't wait. So, with all that said, all that out of the way, everybody, keep your wits about you, keep hunting, and keep playing PlayStation. See y'all.
Be safe. Love you.